you, Chairman of the Island Advisory Council. Permit me also to recognize the mayor. And he would not want me to recognize him without saying that he was a former member.
Someone question your American. Back there. So I will tell you what is the relationship, if he's my brother and at what stage was he or what he was. I'll keep that a secret. I'll leave it right there. But I also want to recognize a number of the persons I see. Former mayor and former minister of government, Jeremy Palmer, an outstanding 4-H. I'm seeing so many of the council executive member, seeing council members, I'm seeing my 4-H junior leader, stalwarts, and how can I not recognize my hard-working staff? Thank you, Chairman, for recognizing them. I say to people that 4-H gets excellent recognition because of the work we're doing, not because of how effective I am as an executive director, but it's just the quality of staff that I have. And I want to just take time out to recognize Mr. Ewart, who is our field services director, and it's the person who, when I call the need, he drives it in. And so the performance and the achievements of the KPIs rest on his shoulder. Can you put your hands together for Mr. Garfield Ewart? But none of what I've just said is possible without our volunteers. And that is why we are celebrating the work and worth of our volunteer today as they seek to renew their mandate and their commitment to continue to provide quality volunteer service to the Jamaica 4-H clubs. I oftentimes share that the government of Jamaica invests approximately $300 million in the Jamaica 4-H clubs annually, and that just pays for salaries and some other housekeeping matters. But the volunteers contribute in any 1 year, Mr. Ewart, about $390 million worth of volunteer hours. It therefore means that our volunteers is one of the largest investors in the Jamaica 4-H clubs. We're also, ladies and gentlemen, very, very happy that the 4-H club is a very strong brand, a very strong brand. And it resonates in the heart and soul of our volunteers and many who have been touched by the 4-H club. And that is why it is easy to get very healthy support from corporate Jamaica and from our international sponsors and so. So we pull in roughly $100 million annually through grant funding in order to implement programs and projects across Jamaica. I'm extremely happy to share that there are some things, and let me just say that there are a whole lot in your document, and so I won't repeat what is there because you have all the time in the world to read them, but I just will be sharing with you some things that may have been overlooked or maybe purposely left for me to share. But I want to say to you that 10 years ago, the Jamaica 4-H club was worth just about $500 million, $500 million. And I'm extremely happy to share today that at last month, the end of last month, we have worth approximately 1.1 billion Jamaican dollars. It is not an important indicator for the 4-H club, but it's important that I share it with you. Because there is one thing that I'm always mindful of. and I want the volunteers to be also mindful of it, is that we must always prepare ourselves that when our sponsors are falling off, when any of our financial resources are falling off, we should have the capacity to continue despite any of those fallout of support to the Jamaica 4-H clubs. There are some significant achievements since we last met, and especially face-to-face, that I want to share with you. During the pandemic, one of the biggest predicaments that faced the Jamaican economy was a significant fallout of employment, especially among young people, and especially those who were engaged to the service sector and the hospitality sector in particular. One of the things we did was quickly repurpose our youth-led enterprise program. And what we did was to fashion a program which we call our REAP Start, a Rural Youth Economic Empowerment Program Start. And we use it and we map up approximately 1,000 youth unemployment. And those employment were different from the employment in the hotel sector. These are sustainable employment. Because when you help people to create their own employment opportunity, you are in fact laying a basis for sustainable personal development as well as a sustainable contribution to the Jamaican economy. And I'm extremely happy that when I look at the PIOJ report coming at the back of the pandemic, what was very, very obvious was the work that you did as volunteer in helping to mobilize, provide the training and the venture capital input that we provided for those approximately 1,000 young people. They were accounted for, and that was a real achievement during the pandemic, because those were sustainable employment. I want the volunteers to recognize that your contribution has not gone unnoticed. During the pandemic, what we recognized was just how important everyone has come to the realization about the agricultural sector. Because if it's one thing many of us learned, is that our food did not start with the supermarket shelves. So people start to recognize more the worth of our farmers. And for the first time in my many years of living on this planet, every time I listen to the governor of the Bank of Jamaica, he's talking about agriculture, and it's important to kickstart the economy after the pandemic. When I listen to the Minister of Finance, his presentations were always punctuated with greater investment in agriculture in order to create the well-needed growth. What is clear to me and what must be clear to you here, because you are players and contributed to that success, is that agriculture is one of the most important of all the sectors in this country. And I'm not saying it anecdotally, because the empirical data is there to show that the multiplier effect of investing $1 in agriculture is greater than tourism and many other sectors that we tend to put a whole lot of credence or pay a lot of attention. The reality, ladies and gentlemen, is that the 4-H has a great responsibility, is to continue to build out our young farmers as contributor to economic development. It is for that reason that during the pandemic, we decided that we are going to improve the efficacy of our small farmers. And so we partner with HEART. And what we did was to certify our young farmers. So people who have never had the opportunity to hold a piece of certification, and you know how it feels, Dr. Medley, when you got that PhD or that master's, or when you got that CXC certificate, you know how it makes you feel. There's a great and powerful feeling. But we got the youngsters or farmers using prior learning assessment. We certified 756 youth farmers at the NQVJ level 2. the certification standard is sometimes even more attractive, Dr. Medley, than our PhDs. You know why? Because anywhere you go in the world, nobody question an NQVJ qualification. That's what our farmers have. People will tell you that you must go to your university and you should do that. And that's what we have done for a farmer. This year, we want to do another 1,000 farmers. We want to certify them. I also, ladies and gentlemen, want to say to you that during the same period of time, we have made a lot more of our assets bankable. Because what has happened over the years is that volunteers like you, through your creativity and your benevolence, has given properties to the Jamaica 4-H clubs. And last year, we decided that we're going to get the title for 5. And we work on those 5. I'm happy to say of those 5 properties that we selected, 4 of them are just a couple months away from us receiving a registered title. And that's very, very important, because now you're putting on about $200 million to the balance sheet of the Jamaica 4-H clubs by getting these registered titles. Again, I want to commend the work of Mr. Gale, because he's now taking another 5 properties. Another 5 properties. I was out in Portland, and I owe you my apology, Chairman Carr. I was out there, and we also looked at there, 4 properties we own in Portland, Mr. Cox. And I want to thank him for the great work. And there are some legacies that we want to lay down. I want to lay them down quickly, because we are in discussion in getting a property that has building and the kind of infrastructure to build out a training facility for Portland. And I must say, if it is one of the things I want to do before I close my chapter on 4-H, I want to see a permanent structure in Western Jamaica, and not in the bushes, but in the central area of St. James, to set up an office for the Western region. And I also want to commit to you, I did that a couple of years ago with the Duke Street property. When we worked on it, I didn't know where the money was coming from, but a property that we were going to turn back over to the Commission of Property, that was a menace in Kingston, is now worth, Chairman, it is now worth in excess of $150 million. And as we are prepared to move from 95 Old Hope Road for 2 years, we have an office to accommodate our corporate office at Duke Street while we build out 95 Old Hope Road. And that's an asset that we want to take from in the range of about 700 million. I want to take it to about $2 to $2.5 billion when that property is reverted to the Jamaica 4-H clubs. It is consistent with a program that I am committed to make the Jamaica 4-H club self-sustainable. Because it's the only way we are going to have an independence that is independent of government, that is independent of the private sector, is independent of our international donors. But I'm saying all of this will only happen because of the resolve of the members who are here. We're coming to St. Elizabeth, and I really want to say thanks to Jeremy Palmer and the work he's doing in helping us to get back Warminster on track. I'm sure he will be getting the updates that I think we're looking at a sizable grant to build out Warminster. And I don't want to because we are in discussion with the party, but we should be finding about $50 to $60 million, and we're going to give you a state-of-the-art facility in St. Elizabeth. Ladies and gentlemen, all of that is going to be necessary to be able to have a stronger program for our clubbites. I'm extremely happy to say that we are doing more training and development of our members than we have ever done in the history of 4-H. In fact, we had almost a 200% increase in training, Mr. Ewart, last year than we have ever had before. And in difficult times in the pandemic, we were able to roll out a number of programs and projects, and you would see them there in your report. And thousands of young people. We introduced the Youth in Fisheries program, we built out the technology program, and we also significantly improved the incentive program. So 4-H boy this year got $1 million, Reverend Wickham, you know. The girl got $1 million for prize cash. The youth farmer, champion farmer this year got $2 million worth of prize. The female and the male got $2 million. We are deliberate about that. The champions in the smart agriculture competition got $900,000 worth of prizes. We are deliberate about that because we are putting incentives in agriculture for young people. We want people to know that it's okay to be a farmer. And as a friend from Manchester would say to me, Neville Borrell, he said, you know, when you're a farmer in Jamaica, you make an appointment to see the politician. In the United States, the politician makes an appointment to see the farmer. That is my dream for the agricultural industry in Jamaica. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Well said, well said. Thank you very much, Dr. Blake. I think Dr. Blake could tell you so that although we have been told many times that farming in Jamaica is only reserved for old people, it's not true. The average age is about 48 years. So when you think about that, unless you're going to consider a 48-year-old person to be an old person, so Cornwall, you won't fit into that, you know? So the Jamaica 4-H clubs, you know, have been very deliberate in assisting that process, where many of our young people are involved in agriculture. And as a result, the age cohort has been reduced. Hence, we have a very healthy agricultural sector in Jamaica. We'll now invite Ishmael Smythe, a clubite from St. Anne, to present an item.
Not the best singer, but help me sing this one. All right. Help me big up Jamaica, the land of food and water. System might not proper, but wrap that one there, right? Right? You can turn this one, look a bit more, please. So a bit more. Start it over. All right. Can you help me sing this one? We know it, right? All right. Help me sing this one. Help me big up Jamaica, the land of food and water. The system might not proper. Culture. Can't you see the tea of this country? Me never know a serious thing until me reach a foreign. Sweet, just how I'm gonna know it. The dollars now run. Sweet jam round. The dollars now run. Good morning, my name is Ishmael Smythe, bringing you greetings from the beautiful parish of St. Anne. I have an original poem written by Oswald Anderson. Jamaica, land we love. The country is a blessing from above. You don't know, we no hold no grudge, but a one thing, we no take no talk. We national dish, ackee and saltfish, dumpling and banana, all the one cornmeal porridge. You don't know, man, if you steam the cabbage, not to mention chicken back. All the one tin mackerel, When Christmas come, you know we have to drink the sorrel. And you know if people are foreign, so I get the barrel. Jamaica, the land we love. Country is a blessing from above. You don't know we no hold grudge. We do one thing and we not take no talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smythe, for that presentation, that item. You know, Manchester, St. Anne, and St. Catherine, Chloites from these, or young people from these parishes are invited to apply for the Rio Tinto scholarships. So we ask that you take the message back. We are increasing the numbers from 140 that was scholarship was given last year. Sorry, we are increasing it to 140 per parish. So we need to ask persons to send in the applications. Last year, over 300 persons were awarded scholarships. And this year, the increase is going to 140. So please put in your applications. You may have family members living in these parishes, or you may know friends who have young people, who have students at high school, going on to college. Please encourage them to apply for these scholarships. We will now invite His Worship the Mayor, Councillor Donovan Mitchell, Mayor of Mandeville, to give us greetings. And if after he's finished, unless the chairman of the board comes by that time, following him, we'll ask Ms. Delores Henry, the elected member, to introduce the guest speaker. So right after the greetings, we'll ask Ms. Delores Henry to come and introduce the guest speaker, unless the board chairman comes. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. My friend and brother, Dr. Ron Blake. And when I say friend and brother, we met at the 4-H clubs on the board. At that time, the great Mrs. Delissa, a woman of purpose and integrity, was the ED. It was a transition from education to agriculture, and so you know it was a teething process. I see I have here the principal of the greatest high school in the world, the principal of the Manchester High School. The Manchester High School. They're using a new term now. We used to call it the home of champions, but it's which one now? The home of supreme champions. And that is so because so many, many years ago, I stood on this platform and led devotions many years when I graced the halls of this high school. I see some friends of mine here, Brother McNamee from the great Broadleaf Primary and Infant School, which happens to be in the division that I represent. And so for all of you that are here this morning, let me welcome you to Mandeville. Best place on earth to live. Another couple of months or so when you come back, you might have a little problem with the traveling in the town center because some of our streets are going to be one ways and all of that, but we're doing it for development's sake. Let me acknowledge my friend and colleague, Mr. Jeremy Palmer, former councillor, former politician. And since I'm the only politician in here now, I have a duty and I can speak freely because that's the only thing we do, right, Jeremy? We speak freely. I'm sorry that the board chairman is not here because I may say something that I didn't want anybody to tell him I say it. I wanted him to hear for himself. Because I see persons like Dolores Henry here who have served for many years as a volunteer. And even during my time on the 4-H board. And I have learned that this new board and the new board somewhat is pushing aside the representation at the board level for volunteers, etc. Even though it's not explicit in the regulations of the 4-H club, I think it is very, very unwise that such a move could have been made, because separate and apart from the role and function of the volunteers, I think they are the greatest asset of the Jamaica 4-H club. And I laud you this morning for your work and your worth. But one would say that, and I said it to a friend yesterday, that everybody blames politicians for everything that goes wrong. And everybody else have the answers for the problems that we face. But it is somewhat strange that all the people who have the answers do not want to go into representational politics. And so I find that strange, because if I have the answer to something, I'll try to be a part of the thing. This morning, I really want to commend the IAC. And when I walked in, I remember persons like Derek Vermont. I remember Ron when we represented the 4-H clubs, Jamaica, in Canada. I think it was both 99 and 2000, and Derek was there. And I always look forward to people like Derek and the volunteers, because Derek has a humor, had a humor that you just wanted to be around him. Remember, we had a board retreat, I think it was in St. Anne, and Velma Walker, I think she was then president of NALA, and Ron insisted that we visit a special place in St. Anne. I won't tell you where. And for the likes of me, Miss Walker came. And I tell you, for days, Miss Walker was giving us a tongue lashing because we didn't tell her where we were going. We went on an excursion of St. Anne. I won't tell you where, but I will remind Ron where we went. Your theme, grow smart, eat smart, youth responding to food security. Agriculture is not sexy. And that's one of our major problems, because it is not sexy. Young people don't tend to gravitate to it. The only crop I know in agriculture is sexy is the ganja. Because all the youths now, you pass on the street side and they're rolling out the hand middle, and that's the only sexy thing about agriculture. But not even that. They want to apply for and get certification to grow. And so we wonder if persons like you, the volunteers, and other persons that are in agriculture, if you weren't around, what would have happened to us? And I want us to look back, not just at technology, but there's also something that boggles my mind, because, and I say it, I'm a politician, I don't eat fish, so I don't eat fish head, and I eat cowhead, and I'm not afraid of eyes. That prime agricultural lands are being turned into housing schemes. And if you mean agriculture well, I think those are the lots that you should be cutting up and offering to youths and say, listen me, we will take you from this point to that point, because the Bible says that we're to farm the lower lands and live on the hillsides. And so if you're using the lower lands for farming, then you can't farm on the inside, because when the rain comes, everything coming down the gully. And so I am saying to you, and I see Carol here, who is public relations at the time, and I think she still is at the Jamaica 4-H club. I think we need to spend more time and more funds on educating the populace, because a lot of persons I still think don't know some of the programs that is offered by the Jamaica 4-H clubs. At this time, I don't know how much the community clubs are alive and well, and it is through those medium that we'll be able to formulate better things. I heard Ron speak about the certification of farmers for agriculture, but I'm throwing it out that you probably may have to sit with the Ministry of Labor, because there's an annual farmer program where thousands of persons travel abroad. And people would come to you as a politician and say, boy, I want to go on the farmer program. And the truth is that there's a percentage of those who really want to go, but there are some who need to go. Those who want to go are those who just simply want to get a chance to enter the US or Canada, and you see them no more until another 10 or 20 years. But there are those who want to see what farming is about in other countries. And so there should be a link between the Ministry of Labor, because I know RADA sometimes they just go to RADA and get a farmer's license, but I think the training component that the Jamaica 4-H clubs should now be looking at it and say, persons who want to go, you got to register with the Jamaica 4-H clubs, do the training, and so when the time comes, politicians don't like those things, but I think if my life can be easy, I don't want it to be harder. And that you pull from the pool of these persons per parish to send them on the program abroad. And so it helps us, because the people who go don't want to run off, because every time one person run off, if you're from a particular constituency, that constituency loses 10 applicants. Because once you run off from that particular constituency, if you get 40 applications, you know, get 30, and all of that needs to be said to people. But value added component of farming is another aspect of it that I think we need to look at. But if the volunteer is not sitting at the table, I think Nala is not sitting there either. And if all of this not happen, then I don't envy Mr. Blake, because his work is no harder, because he has to carry out the mandate of the board, and he would have to now say that the board says. You wouldn't have that person at the board to say, no, sir, it can't work this way. It can work this way. And so I think, and I hope, that sanity will prevail, and that in the discussions that you may have with the board and the persons involved, that they will relook that position and bring back to the table of the Jamaica 4-H board all hands and all feet and all bodies. Because if we're looking to food security, then those who are volunteering their services, because take away the volunteers out of 4-H, what do you have? You have answered, not me. And so today, as you pledge your head to clearer thinking, I ask you to look at Romans chapter 12, verse 2. Be ye not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind. May God continue to bless the Jamaica 4-H clubs, and may God continue to bless Jamaica Land We Love. Thank you for inviting me.
Ladies and gentlemen, friends all, good morning. I'm Dolores Henry, and this morning I'm here to present to you a professional who embodies everything that you can think of. So his professional training in education, leadership, economics, management, mathematics, and social studies has enabled him to function effectively at all levels of the organizational hierarchy. He is a Christian and an astute professional who is intrinsically motivated, talented, hardworking, with over 3 decades of experience in teaching at the secondary and adult education levels. Acknowledged for service with integrity, public speaking, team-spirited nature, mediation skills, time management skills, expansive network of astute professionals, eye for detail, efficiency, and competence in carrying out assigned tasks, and being a sports enthusiast, desirous to facilitate improvement in the working conditions and the standard of education across all levels in the Jamaican education system. He is guided by the philosophy, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. He's committed to building a strong family, the backbone of society. He's married to Sharon for 28 years. He has 2 daughters, Shara and Amanda.
a school in East Kingston, a primary school. And there's he coming. They were looking out as if a celebrity is there, and then I realized they were not looking on me. They were looking on Ethan. So the girl said, him pretty. So it's not finished. So a boy look around, look at him, and said, pretty one, no making colorful, you. I guess the boy felt he was getting competition, so he had to get that out there. Yeah, but he has done so much for so little, I can't pay him. He's now qualified to do anything for nothing. And 4-H is all about volunteerism. And I'm absolutely delighted to be offered the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you. Today, I also want to welcome members of the media, everyone, students all. Thank you so much for making it. I've listened carefully, and obviously the 4-H movement is a growing movement and has been impacted. The 4-H, most of us, if not all, would know, came out of a merger between the Jamaica Agricultural Society and the Sports Development Foundation, or the Social Development Foundation. And what a revelation this merger has been. What great number of lives have been impacted by this powerful movement. And I want to encourage the leadership to continue steadfastly. Our young people transition, from one level to the next, from lack of confidence to full confidence and being so expressive, and we would have seen in even our school the impact of the 4-H movement, not just in terms of the agricultural aspect, but in terms of leadership development and so on. And so I could spend a while talking about food security. I'll say a little bit about that. But I'm more interested in challenging us because volunteerism is so crucial, so critical to the advancement of this nation. And if there's ever an organization that exemplifies that, it's the 4-H movement here in Jamaica. Our young people need mentorship. Our young people need guidance. I am so disturbed because I've watched through the years how cultures have changed. And no, not just in our school, almost all around. As soon as you begin to ask students to volunteer, to do community service, whatever, the next question or comment is, what am I getting? Will I be paid for it? And you can't really blame them because it's almost part of our culture now. And if we are not careful, the whole idea of volunteerism will go through the window. But it's something that we must protect, that we must encourage, and that we who know the impact of that, must continue to offer leadership and guidance in that regard. While I sat there, I was reminded about a true story about two young men. One was mentored properly, was involved in a lot of clubs and societies, graduated from school, applied for a job. Also applying for the job was another youngster who just would not accept mentorship, wasted time, and wanted to benefit from the opportunity as well. Both of them went to the interview in a very informal place so they could hear what the interviewer is saying. So the young man that was very prepared, when he went in, he was asked 3 questions. How old are you? 19? Which grade did you leave school? Grade 11. If you had the opportunity to travel from one Caribbean island to the next, and you were given the opportunity to take a ship or a boat, which one would you take? He said boat. Right. I think you know where I'm going. I'm just showing you the dangers of when we persons don't respond to mentorship and accept proper guidance. So my friend was listening all the time because he knew that his friend was very prepared. So his time to go in, he rehearsed everything. The interviewer decided to change the order of the questions. So first thing, which one did I ask first? All right, so now, which grade did you leave school in? 19. How old are you? 11. So the interviewer said, man, are you a sheep or a goat? He said, both. And we laugh, but it's such a travesty. And we look at what's happening in terms of the social fiber and the moral decay and decadence in our society. And it's important to me that more and more of our young people, Director, are gravitating towards agriculture. On my way here this morning, I stopped at Lane and bought a jelly coconut, $250. The same size coconut last week was $150. And we all can see what is happening as far as the escalation of food prices. And so it is prompting more persons to become self-sufficient and others also to get into food production. And so it's a great opportunity as well for the 4-H movement to continue to offer leadership and the incentives in this regard. Manchester High School has a very strong 4-H movement, always. And at one point, I kind of thought that's why, I was asked to maybe share, because one of the things I've realized in educational leadership and guiding young people is that we have to look at holistic development. It can't be all about academic work. In the 21st century, people are asking, what else are you bringing to the table? I see scouts flying down from United States and UK and Canada to look at boy kicking football and to look at people who are in entrepreneurship and tourism and our automotive technology groups. And it may be sad, but we have to understand how the world is changing. We have students getting 12 and 13 grade ones and nobody coming to look at them. And so it's clear that we have to look at the holistic development of our students. And so with through the years here at Manchester High School, I look back this morning and I realized that Rachel Cockett was first place winner in cushion making at the national level. So she might have gotten some money, right? Yeah, the school is interested in those things, Of course, it's partnership. Chanel Bradshaw was first place winner in cake making and decorating competition at the national level and is now the owner and operator of the Eden's Confection. Look at that. Yeah. Kevin Bonner won the rabbit care and management competition at the national level. He was a young entrepreneur while at Manchester in this area and recipient of the Rio Tinto Scholarship. And Earth University graduate. Awesome. So I'll add that. Samantha Turner. So you see, you track your people as well. That's wonderful. What if we had more organizations across Jamaica doing this with our young people? What a difference our nation would be in our nation. Samantha Turner was first in the Girl of the Year competition at the national level and Rio Tinto awardee as well. So you see, Manchester High School, we have benefited a lot from the incentives offered by the 4-H as well. Natisha Lewis won care and management at the parish level and went on to represent our school in the national competition. I'm sure you can connect with some of these names. Leanne Palmer was second at the parish level in towel folding. Jordan Griffiths, second at the parish level in bee care and management and first first in the Boy of the Year competition. Shanna K. Patrick Parish Award in the Girl of the Year competition. And Janelle Peart, national winner in the composting competition. Come on, put your hands together for these people. And guess what? You can be sure that these young people will venture off into business, own their own entities, employ others, and of course, come back to support the school as well. You know, and so we are so excited about the possibilities. I said it earlier that there is much more interest as far as food security. One of the things that the pandemic has taught us and showed us clearly is how fragile world economies are. And all of a sudden, food prices have begun to soar. We also had our Minister of Health, who actually is a past student here as well. He has made 2 trips here already, just talking to young people about eating healthy, about calories, and the devastating impact it can have if we have too much calories in our system, both in terms of our teaching, our academic acumen, as well as our physical attributes and the lifestyle diseases associated with it. So everything is playing in the hands of moving towards back to the ground as far as food production and food security is concerned. Mayor, we did an overall of our play field, the A field. We have 2 fields, and we didn't tell anybody what we're doing really. So the RADA helped us with a farm tractor, and we plowed up the entire place right here. So it was the talk of the town, both here and outside the town. People were saying, "We don't realize in Manchester, I go and plant yam right there." Some people say it's yam, some say it's potato, and some said, no, it's planting, and we just listen to the discussion. And they watch as the work progress, and then they say, oh, it's Bermuda grass, they're expanding the field. So the good part of that is that the first thing that came to people's mind is that maybe we are smart because we are looking at becoming self-sufficient. And since we're not winning football, is the only thing we're not winning. we may as well go into some food production. Well, that's for another time. But in terms of threats to food security, we watch the world population growth. The world population keeps increasing, and that's greater demand on food. Jamaica is strategically placed. Look at the tropical climate all year round. We can stick something in the ground. And like I say, food prices are trending up. Where I live in Woodlawn, almost every day a pickup passes through there with vegetable and anything you want to buy. And I know it's working out for them because they do it religiously. I've seen some of these persons that didn't do so well in school, but they are earning more than we are earning now, who have taken the academic route. And so the possibilities are endless. There's the increased demand for food, and therefore it presents us a threat to food security. Food price, if you look on the board there, we're having a meeting with Mothers Enterprise Monday morning because everybody is saying they have to do something about the food price. It's a little higher here than on the street because of the concessionaire arrangement, but they are in several schools across Jamaica and they have a standard with the prices, but the prices are high. But it's not just here. When you go across the Mega Mart and the other places, a lunch price is not like it was before the pandemic. So we have to have the discussion and see how best we can come to a compromise, but food price is trending up. There is the disappearance of the variety of agricultural plant species, because of climate change and all this kind of thing. That's another threat. There's the increase in the area of scarcity of water and the limitation of the availability of land, and food losses and food waste. So there are several threats to food security. And so it's very well-timed in terms of the focus on the theme, grow smart, eat smart, youth responding to food security. So we'll continue to carry that message as well with our young people, and just encourage everyone because our nation can become self-reliant. All right, so I'm gonna shift, colleagues, just to talk a little bit now in terms of volunteerism, because that's where the action is at. And again, this probably is the third time I'm saying it. Colleagues, I want to commend you because it's against a background and within a culture where everybody wants to know what is in it for me first before I get engaged. And so the spirit of volunteerism must be encouraged, must be perpetuated, you know, and as the movement goes forward, please remember that the sustainability depends on the extent to which our volunteers are included, you know, and are appreciated. And so we have to bear that in mind. The virtues of hard work. I share this with our young people at school so that they could understand the importance of mentorship as well, accepting leadership. And I love that 4-H is into upliftment of young people. Because I made a point earlier that one of the reasons we have 30 odd clubs and societies here at Manchester High School, and every sport that play almost, we are in it. And here around here, we say we're in it to win it. Because it's clear that the more engaged young people are, the less time they have to be distracted, to form the gangs and to create a menace to society. So we encourage our young people to work hard, accept mentorship. I want to challenge the young people who are here today with this short story about the virtue of hard work. So a young man went to apply for a managerial position in a big company. He passed the initial interview and now would meet the director for the final interview. The director discovered from his CV that the youth's academic achievements were excellent. So he asked, "Did you obtain any scholarship in school?" The youth said no. "Was it your father who paid your school fees?" He said, "My father passed away when I was 1 year old. It was my mother who paid for my school fees." "Where does your mother work?" "My mother worked as a clothes cleaner." The director requested the youth to show his hands. The youth showed a pair of hands that were smooth and perfect. "Have you ever helped your mother wash the clothes before?" "Never. My mother always wanted me to study and read more books. Besides, my mother can wash clothes faster than me." The director said, "I have a request. When you go home today, go and clean your mother's hands and then see me tomorrow morning." The youth felt that his chance of landing the job was high. When he went back home, he asked his mother to let him clean her hands. His mother felt strange, happy, but with mixed feelings. She showed her hands to her son. The youth cleaned his mother's hands slowly. His tears fell as he did that. It was the first time he noticed that his mother's hands were so wrinkled, and there were so many bruises in her hands. Some bruises were so painful that his mother winced when he touched it. This was the first time the young man realized that it was the pair of hands that washed the clothes every day to enable her to pay the fees. The bruises in the mother's hands were the price that the mother had to pay for his education, his school activities, and his future. After cleaning his mother's hands, the youth quietly washed all the remaining clothes for his mother. That night, mother and son talked for a long time. Next morning, the youth went to the director's office. The director noticed the tears in the youth's eyes. When he asked, "Can you tell me what have you done and learned yesterday in your house?" The youth answered, "I cleaned my mother's hands and also finished cleaning all the remaining clothes. I know now what appreciation is. Without my mother, I would not be who I am today. By helping my mother, only now do I realize how difficult and tough it is to get something done on your own. And I have to come to appreciate the importance and value of helping one's family and helping others." The director said, "This is what I'm looking for in a manager. I want to recruit a person who can appreciate the help of others, a person who knows the sufferings of others to get things done, And a person will not put money as the only goal in life. Let me repeat that. A person who will not put money as the only goal in life. Volunteers, the service you offer is the investment that you are placing in the lives of our young people. I challenge you to continue to do the same. The director said, you are hired. This young man worked very hard and received the respect of his subordinates. Every employee worked diligently and worked as a team. The company's performance improved tremendously. Volunteers, I want to challenge you. I made a statement when I referred to Mr. McNamee earlier. I said, he has done so much for so little that he's now qualified to do anything for nothing. Can we continue to perpetuate that same spirit of volunteerism? I was saying to somebody just last night, because he asked me for all these things that I go to speak, if I put a price tag. I said no. So he was adamant that you're wasting your time and giving me ideas as to people who come and say a few things and how much they are paid. I said to him, I am more interested in terms of the impact on the lives. I told him, I am more interested in terms of the impact that I can make on lives. And then I said to him, no man on earth can pay you as much as your heavenly Father will. He says he sees in secret and he will reward us openly. And so, Mayor, you and I have something in common. There's always a scripture. Yeah, because the words of life are transformational. Proverbs says, there are those that scatter it and yet increase it, and they that withhold and tend to poverty. Scatter it, like giving away everything and people can, and yet more coming your way, and others who seem to be gathering everything for themselves and yet are tending to poverty. It is speaking to the fact that we should be open to volunteer, to give of our time, our talents, our resources in the upliftment of humanity. I know the journey is rough. I know sometimes we are discouraged along the way, but I want to encourage us. So volunteers, what are some of the necessary attributes? I expect that you will, I know, I remind you and I encourage you to reinforce. You have a fearless approach. Volunteers have a fearless approach. I go into West Kingston in the ghetto areas where gunshot firing, and you have volunteers that are going in there to seek to make a difference to the lives of young people, to lift them up. And somehow, people don't really attack these people. Volunteers are fearless. This age requires fearlessness. Volunteers also have infinite patience. Every now and then I have to call a teacher at school and say, just have a little more patience with the youth. Patience with the youth, because they give us no ends of problem. But I can tell you today, Mayor, one of the students that support this school the most, in fact, he says, don't tell me to stop giving. I know what this school has done for me. He gave a lot of problems when he was here. But he said there were people that stuck by him, stayed with him along the journey and kept encouraging him. The work that you do as a volunteer, you know, cannot be underestimated. Nobody here can pay you for that. Volunteers have the ability to think creatively. Just like when I listen to the director in terms of the creativity and the initiatives and how the 4-H movement is growing, because they are smart initiatives, creative thought. Volunteers are eager to take initiative. You're not afraid of failing. I tell my students, Michael Jordan says, I've missed more than 3,000 shots in my career. He said about 200 times when the world was watching, he was trusted to take the game's winning shot and he missed. And then he says, I've failed over and over and over again, but that's why I succeed. Because he continues to learn from every experience. He now is one of the greatest volunteers. A lot of scholarship foundations just give away things impacting lives. Volunteers, effective volunteers, stay humble about their work. Effective volunteers stay humble about their work. I remember speaking to, I certainly wouldn't call this church brother's name, but I missed church Mayor one Sunday night a couple of years ago. So a gentleman saw me in Mandeville. He's a volunteer, he's sharing the gospel. Not a pastor, but he got a little preach. So he said to me, man, how you missed church last night? I say, I couldn't make it last night. He said, some power fall the last night. He said, man, his spirit move. One of the best message ever preached. And then he said, I'm a preacher, you know. But you know what the scripture said? If you take glory for yourself, there's none more you're getting from your heavenly Father. You have already gotten your reward in this life. And so when we do our good deeds, the right hand don't have to know what the left hand is doing. Maybe you should have get a little award and your name never call. I don't know nothing that. Because our motives, the reason why we are volunteering and impacting lives is not so that we might be recognized and get certificate. If it comes, that's fine. But there's a bigger purpose behind that. We are after changing lives. Is that true? So I encourage you always to stay humble about it. You know, I love what Jesus says about the parable, because all of us are gifted in different ways. The man that got 5 come back with 5 more. Well done, good, and he did not say good and successful. That's the problem with a lot of us. We want the TV cameras. We want the bright light. When we plan function, we want the room to be full. So if only few people come, we want to call you off and say no. Jesus was very pointed. It's the faithfulness with which we execute that which we are called to do that we will be rewarded for. Yeah, you know it very well. The man with the one, he could have heard the same thing despite the fact he had one, but he began with a tirade of excuses. The things that he should have hidden, that's what he was exposing. And the things he was exposing is what he should have hidden, the excuses and all sorts of things. So he said, cast the unprofitable servant. Volunteers keep the focus in mind. We are not worried about limelight and applause. We are about changing lives. Volunteers are driven by passion. Passion is what is left when everything else is gone. Even if there is no resources, I have to pay your own money to travel around the country. Even when people tell you say you don't know what you're doing, or somebody figure that you are not fit for purpose, passion allows you to get up and to continue to make impact. And finally, effective volunteers are team players. Are team players. We know group work comes with various dynamics, difficult people to work with. But effective volunteers keep the vision in mind. There's a bigger purpose, so we don't get distracted by virtue of the isms and the schisms and the disappointments and the disagreements. There is a higher purpose. The great thing is that there are so many benefits. When I was doing some research on volunteerism, you'd be surprised at the multiplicity of health benefits. Researches show that people who volunteer for long live much longer. I guess because it gives such a great feeling of satisfaction and accomplishment. So the right kind of hormones flowing through your body. You can sleep well because we are called to serve. That's how God created us. Volunteers make a difference. You might not even think you're making a difference, you know. I see people meet me and others and they tell me make a difference. I say, oh, sometimes maybe just something that you said. But you didn't think it was anything. You are making a difference. That's a benefit. It gives the opportunity to be able to meet people. As a volunteer, sometimes you end up overseas or you go across the country. You meet people in different facets and spheres of life. you know, and so you gain prominence. You're able to learn new skills and to continue to perpetuate lifelong learning. And you're able to take on fresh and new challenges. And so it's a supreme calling to be a volunteer. And it's within that that you find relevance in this powerful organization. And so I close. I want to again commend the 4-H movement. I want to challenge the leadership and the volunteers to do it with all your might. To do it so that you will hear, well done, good and faithful servants. I want to assure you that you are impacting lives as you do, even if you don't know it. And you are changing Jamaica one child at a time. And so I leave with you what Jesus says in St. Luke 17, verse 10. This is my last statement. Very profound statement. You can read it for yourself. Luke 17, verse 10. He said to the disciples, when you have done all that you are called to do, you are to say, I am only an unprofitable servant. I have only done that which was my duty so to do. When you have done all that you have been called to do, say, I am an unprofitable servant. I have done only that which was my duty so to do. God bless you, and I wish you well.
Can all say that was a very good presentation. And so many of the expressions made in this presentation have been adopted by the executive that I led through the last 2 years. And I am happy that he has zeroed in on many of them, one of which is always to be a servant leader and to be faithful. He has challenged us to be open to the fact that we are in a changing culture and we are to protect volunteerism. Without further ado, we invite Abigail Morgan, the junior leader from Manchester, to make a presentation to the guest speaker.
Good morning, everyone.
Oh, okay.
Good morning, everyone. Mr. Jasford Gabriel, the principal of Manchester High School. Mr. Jasford Gabriel, the principal of the Manchester High School, on behalf of the Island Advisory Council, I present you this token of gratitude to thank you for the time out of your busy schedule and also enable us to use the grounds for the annual general meeting. Most of all, thank you for your glamorous humor, your benevolent speech, and the drastic impact you have made on me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Our board chairman has arrived and we will take him just a little while. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the things that 4-H has rolled out this year was the agro-processing lab and value-added, multifaceted agro-processing in Denby. This will provide training and service for youth in several areas. Presently, they do packaging for honey and they process castor oil. So if you know of persons who want to get involved, never hesitate to refer them to the agro-processing lab at Denby, which is owned and operated by the Jamaica Forage Clubs. We welcome our chairman of the board, Mr. Colin Virgo, and we now invite him to bring greetings.
Check. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a very special day for me. First and foremost, because of where I am standing. Reverend Roy Wickham, Chairman of the Island Advisory Council, he pulled me across for a tete-a-tete while he was leaving His Worship the Mayor of Mandeville, Donovan Mitchell, my good friend. Guest speaker, my former math teacher, and I'll let you all in on a little secret. This room that you're sitting in, many years ago, before I would have even been considered for head boy here, it was rumored that there were a lot of students, a number of students who after school hours used to love to, in fact, sometime during school hours, used to love to engage in playing dominoes. And they had the teachers very busy, playing police and thief all over the school. Because so they would find, I don't know who those students were, but so they would find a location and play dominoes. And if as much as they start out trying to play very quiet, eventually, especially when a game gets hot, a little sound starts to travel. And you had some very alert teachers who they not wait to miss the sound of dominoes anywhere. Especially those who hail from Frankfield in the hills of Clarendon. But I now call on him. And when that sound would travel, they would discern the location, go and find those students who were playing dominoes. But what they weren't aware was that those students who used to play domino, Mrs. Holness, they had a lot of maroon traits. So whenever the authorities were coming, somehow a communication would mentally go off to those of them playing dominoes, and they would disappear. But the problem was, it cost you a couple packs of domino every day, because you had to move yourself out of the way, and you had to move your bag and so, but you never have time to pack up the dominoes and carry them. You tried sometime and it worked, but sometimes it never worked. And one day, I think I took a non-participant view. And I said to the then principal, Mr. Palmer's good friend, may his soul rest in peace, Bradford Gale. I said to Mr. Gale one evening, he said, sir, look, we have to cut this foolishness out now. Because the truth is, we're not going to stop playing domino, and we're not going to stop running with them. So, no matter what speaking generally, and you're an advocate for the people, so you have to speak on their behalf. Mr. Gabriel can vouch, I was student council rep every single year until I was nominated for head boy, because you can't do both. But I said to him, look, them now stop playing domino.
And you now stop run them down. So this is a waste of time. This cat and mouse, this is a waste of time. So here what? Why don't we have it as a co-curricular activity? Why don't we have it as an extracurricular activity? Why would I have a domino club? And Mr. Gill thought about it long and hard. And I said, boy, you know, he was a bit reticent at first. And you can appreciate why, yeah? And he said, Virgo, so how would that work? I said, it's very simple, you know. I said, we use, well, those of us who were here, we used to call down here Bottom Hall. Correct name is Gunter Hall. We use Bottom Hall. We use the plastic tables that we use during lunchtime, especially during the rainy season. Because the plastic tables won't generate that amount of noise and all that. And I gave him some other things, right? Still, you know, I look reticent and press Mr. Gill. Mr. Sir, your teacher, if your teachers want to exercise, this is not the way. Eventually, Mr. Gill said, all right. I said, sir, we can do it as a trial. We could try it for 2-3 months. You can see how it goes. Eventually, him say, all right. But as with any other club or society, you're going to have a faculty advisor. You know him think him have me by the balls, right? Because him said, nobody now take up that on themselves and no problem. Lo and behold, Mr. Gill did ball already and him lose whatever little here him have when me said to him, said, don't move, I must be right back. I have him. And you can imagine Mr. Gill's surprise when I returned to the office with one just for Gabriel. And I said, sir, here is the faculty advisor. The rest is history. And let me tell you something, volunteers. You know, it was such an amazing thing. Because if I tell you the truth, you know, even in pushing for it, you know, even I was a little worried, to be totally honest, that we might have had some challenges, you know. And let me tell you something. We over-surprised ourselves. Right? Mr. Gabriel, who is a lover of domino himself, although he has received many beatings at my hand, which he conveniently fails to recall every now and then. But the important lesson from that exercise, you know, if there is a will, there's a way. We'd have to reinvent the wheel, you know. If there is a will, there is a way. When we got that agreement with the principal at first, especially those of you who are teachers, I know you can appreciate, your teaching colleagues were for the most part up in arms. They said, what kind of rubbish is this? This can't go work, right? And if them start this foolishness, what about to turn the school in a rum bar? And especially my teachers who were serious Christians, Reverend Wickham, you know, that boy Virgo come to mash up the school. We're going to read him out at church and all of that. And lo and behold, you would be surprised. In the evenings when the people were down, when the students were down in here playing the dominoes, if you never come in the room and look, you wouldn't know. It worked. It worked. You put them in a managed, structured environment. And Mr. Gabriel, as flexible as he was with us, at the same time was strict. Because if one man make noise, he can't play no more game. It worked. At every function that I speak about 4-H, every 4-H function that I speak, I go out of my way to make the point that if you keep young people occupied, they don't get themselves involved in mix-up. If young people are busy with their time, they will not be involved in crime. You think we have a crime problem in Jamaica now? You can imagine if 4-H never exists. The 100,000 young people who we keep occupied, not one of them ending up in no form of crime. None of them. The 100,000 young people who we keep occupied. The only chopping them is a part of is the one that involves agriculture. And I'm not stopping to talk about corporate Jamaica and others supporting the Jamaica 4-H clubs, because the more support you give to 4-H is the less damn criminal you have out there for come broke your house. God Almighty, man. It's as simple as that, you know. What the Jamaica 4-H clubs does, we couldn't do it without the volunteers. And that's the other thing that I don't stop talking either. Everywhere I go. NALA has the bulk of the volunteers, but IAC is twice as old as them, and you perform a core function. And again, I have to say, as I do at every opportunity where I speak, I want to give a sincere thanks to each and every member of the Island Advisory Council. You could have been doing so, and the parish advisory councils. You could have been doing something else with your time. You could have there road a hustler try to make extra money. You could be running up and down all over the place looking for position and all of that. You have taken the time to help grow and mentor and support the young people of Jamaica. What you are doing, the police cannot do. If we think we have a crime problem now, imagine if you folks were not there doing every day what you're out there doing every day. And it is a part of the reason that every opportunity I get to, I walk up and down and raise resources, and I commit my personal ones as well continuously to this organization. I know what it has done for me. This location where we're at is what introduced me to 4-H. Mrs. Newman and Miss Taylor. When I joined 4-H, at first as a student here, the world is such a small place. Dr. Blake was my parish officer. He used to drive one little gray van. He couldn't drive good then, but he learned now. I don't want anybody to take for granted what each of your volunteers do for this organization. My mother was a volunteer too at her school, not too far from here, Mayday. And I see what it takes firsthand out of the volunteers, especially those in particular communities and particular areas where they're starting from zero. I know what it takes. I see it firsthand. I used to see my mother as a teacher having to take the little where she have. As a matter of fact, if me did bad man, put a cuss and say the little one me forget. And pump into her school club. Because schools like hers, the majority of students who are there, they're coming from yards where them not have it. They're coming from yards where them not have even little breakfast to eat in the morning and that sort of thing, much less to be putting in resources. But the 4-H helped to build a lot of those students into the model citizens that they are today. And I want to use this platform to all those who are here and those listening online to say to them, you must give back something to the organization, man. Give back something to the organization. Right now, I ought to block Jeremy Palmer off of my phone. Because I'm tired to hear him tell me what his days as a 4-H clubite, going to camp at Warminster and learning this and learning that did for him and made him into one of the maddest citizens of the country today. By right, he should have been Governor General, but that's an argument for another time. And it is why, and I am certain my executive director won't be angry at me for making this premature announcement. But it is why we have done the legwork. And when I say we, I mean me and Dr. Blake. And with some help from Villette, Mrs. Kelly Bennett. And I can announce that we have raised some significant funds now to see to the refurbishing and expansion of the Warminster facility in St. Elizabeth. A few weeks ago, we launched a brand new aquaponics facility down in Vernon Field. It's raised, we walk the ground and raise the money for that too. On the clap again. On the think money easy if you come by. It is the largest aquaponics project in the Caribbean. And it's not the only one we're going to do. We're going to be expanding them across all the parishes, one by one. So every young person will get an opportunity to learn about aquaponics, which is a part of the new way of agriculture. It's a far more efficient way of doing agriculture. So young people will not have to be turned off from thinking about getting involved in agriculture. You know the biggest problem agriculture faces right now? When a young person thinks about getting involved in agriculture, the first image that comes to their mind, a hoe, a shovel, and pickaxe. And they're not interested in that. So we have that crucial role of not only talking about it, but showing them that there are new ways of doing agriculture, far more efficient and far more profitable. Although I do have to give some bad news about the aquaponics project too, right? Because the same thing I keep on talking about, the damn old vagabond, them go broke the place of the night. And you mark my word. Me, I go find out a who. What, unfortunately for them, one gift I got from my mother, right? And Dr. Blake picked it up years ago, What I know see or hear, I dream, Mr. Me, I will find, how much you don't want to bet me? Me, I will find out a who, And I grew up in a police family as well. I believe in giving the police less work to do. They are out of order. You don't deprive young people of their opportunities. That people who broke school, who broke church, and who broke anything to do with 4-H. They belong in that depository beside Jamalco. You are wicked. You don't deprive young people of opportunities. You must help them to have additional opportunities. They are more near them. Suppose to see how them tear down the place. There's a lot of work going into that thing, man. But anyway, let me come back to the good news. In the last 2 weeks, no man, Jackie, I'm good. In the last 2 weeks, there is a youth policy in agriculture that the global 4-H movement had been trying to get ratified at the FAO for about 7 or so years now. This time around, they extended an invitation for me to participate. But only an invitation to participate or to pay me one way and go. But it's all right, I went. And I'm happy to report to you that in my first attempt at it at the FAO, in those plenaries, on the very first day of the plenaries, 4-day plenaries, on the very first day, what they could not do for 7 years, I got done in that first day. I got the tripartite, the government, the private sector, and the United Nations to adopt and accept the youth policy in agriculture for the whole world. As Christian and his young people from Trelawney would say, right, I work where I work and a chicken where I jerk. I don't come to waste time. I don't come to waste time. And you volunteers make too many sacrifices for the rest of us in the organization to make anything that you would go in vain. I have some other good news coming out of some other recent travels that I did, because I don't believe in wasting time, you know. Right? Tapa will tell, sorry, Mr. Ewart, will I tell you that I'm tired to hear me say, I treat life like I'm an old man in a hurry. Tomorrow no promise to none away. So I hear this argument about tomorrow, next week, and next month. Make we do what we can do today. Get it done now. So we have raised some other resources for some other important things to help you, our volunteers who do so much to help our hardworking staff. I'm not going to announce all of them today, because one of the things that we want to guarantee is equity and fairness. There are people here who can bear me witness. That means always rooting for the countryman. No disrespect to the Kingston people. But too many times and in too many entities, we have a mentality that revolves us around the corporate area. And sometimes we don't remember that most of Jamaica exists out here, out of country. So all of what I'm getting done, I am getting done in a way to ensure that there is a fair share between the rural areas and across all the parishes, especially the least impacted areas. We have to bring everybody up. We have to bring everybody up. I want to thank the Island Advisory Council, the Parish Advisory Councils, for the extremely hard work that you do, seen and unseen, and for the support that you continue to give to the national organization. On behalf of the Board of Directors, we say sincere thanks. And as we continue to work together to build 4-H and make this movement stronger. God bless you all, and thank you for your time.
You know, I sometimes wonder if our chairman is a Baptist. You know, because it is said Baptist preachers will preach for an hour and a half. And when they are through, people ask if they shouldn't continue, because they are accustomed to long sermons. So Virgo, you might have to get close to a Baptist church. Eh? All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the Ferguson Primary School is not here. So we would now be going to a business meeting, but before we get into the business meeting, we have been sitting for a long time. I'm going to ask us to stand. Ask us all to stand, stretch our legs, and stretch up. Up, everybody please, stretch, in hands in the air. And across, and back, forward, and up again. And one deep breathing. All right, those who can dance, dance. All right, thank you very much. Be seated, please. One could safely say what a year it has been. And we want to double check that our delegates are in place and are in their rightful seats. Again, you are invited to sit on my right as delegates. And as we commence our business meeting, we will try our best to get it through within an hour, because our plan was to finish here at 1:30, everything, and then break for lunch. Well, not in break for lunch, but have lunch on our going out. But we want to announce also that Ms. Mack has organized a group picture. So we don't want you to run away. I should also announce that, I should have done it before, but we are streaming live on the Clover TV, not Clover TV, Clover TV. It's award-winning TV. And also that we had in our midst today some Clover awardees. We have persons like Jeremy Palmer and Miss Henry, who are Clover awardees. So we are indeed happy that they are here and they continue to serve likewise. Okay. We will now call the business meeting to order, where we'll take the reading, correction, and confirmation of minutes. The minutes are at the back on the last pages of the handbook. Those who are delegates, please turn to page 37. And we are going from page 37, page 38, page 39, page 40, page 40, sorry, yes, Mrs. Holness. Yes. Isla White, it should be Idle Brown, sorry. Okay, please note that correction. Okay, so there's a Dr. Isla White from Manchester. Okay. Please note those two corrections. Okay, so we go back to page 38. It's clear. Go to page 39. Go to page 40. Page 41. Page 42. And page 43. If there are no Yes. Okay, noted. Yes, Mr. Henry? Mr. Okay, thank you very much. Where's our scribe? Where's our scribe? Okay, thanks. So you're making note. Thank you. So Mr. Rose need to be added to the front. You know, we did this online, so it's a matter of transferring the information properly. Okay, if there are no further corrections, could we ask someone to move for the confirmation of the minutes? That's someone who was in attendance at that meeting. Okay, thank you, Mr. Carr. Seconder, please state your name for the record. Ricardo Hansen from St. Anne. Okay, are all in favor? All in favor? All in favor? Any against? The ayes have it. The minutes have been confirmed. In terms of matters arising, just two items, just to mention them. One is on page, both are on page 42 in regards to the resolution to adjust the banking accounts. That is still being worked on. There were some challenges that we had to undergo, so it's still being worked on. And secondly, the GOAT project, was written by Mrs. Villette Kelly Bennett, as we shared in the meeting, that has been submitted to us and is being scrutinized with a view for rollout with the new executive. So she has delivered the document and the executive is reviewing the document for implementation. One thing we are happy, however, is that in recent times, and as recent as April, having reached out to one of the funders, they have indicated to us that they are still on board to fund the project or part thereof. So we are happy for that. So this we want to roll out, and we hope that the new executive will be able to act on this. Thank you. Unless you have seen any other item for matter rising, then you would raise it. Yes, Mr. McNamee, Vice President McNamee, Vice Chairman rather. I think part of the difficulty we had is that the bank required physical attendance on the part of the present signatories and also on the part of the would-be signatories. And that posed a problem for persons to travel to, for persons to go together. Am I not right, Mr. Rose? Wasn't that part of the challenge we had? So like I said, it's been, yes. I agree with you, 1 year is long and shouldn't have taken so long. But might I say though, that in as much as how this resolution came only last year, previous administrations should have changed the account signatories, but it didn't take place. So it is a challenge, and Ms. Gibbs, who was at the Secretariat, had been at pains in getting to and fro the bank and to and fro from the persons who are to sign, who are on it presently, and to just coordinate that. So it's still something that is to be done speedily. All right. Another time, the 1 year is long, and you'd have heard some of that information in our executive meeting. Where are those challenges, right? Okay, thank you. We'll now go to the presentation of annual report. And the first one is by the chairman of the Island Advisory Council. Please allow me to present this report. Delegates should have it in your folders or in your booklets. Volunteerism for many is dead, but for the Jamaica Forage Clubs, it is not so, as the depth and value of the work of the Jamaica Forage Clubs is embedded in the fabric of volunteerism. The measurement of work done by volunteers is very hard to approximate, and an economic value be accorded to it. Such is the nature of the Jamaica Forage Clubs and the relationship to the young people in particular and the nation on a whole. The staff of Jamaica Forage Clubs is second to none, not only because they work beyond the call of duty, but also they have held to a belief in patriotism. Congratulations are in order for the staff led by Dr. Ronald Blake, the executive director. This year, we meet under the theme, Grow Smart, Eat Smart, Youth Responding to Food Security. It's not only timely, as globally we are challenged by climate change and wars, which has prevented food to be available in a timely manner to many countries because of its increased prices, as well as a shortage of food. How can we forget the impact of Tropical Storm Ian, which recently damaged many crops and animals in Jamaica? The need for new technology cannot be overemphasized, as its use will empower our young people in their own quest for creativity, simplicity, and transformation, which will result in intensive agriculture in seeking to have higher levels of input and output per unit of agricultural land, producing more in a shorter time with less labor input and cost, which will endow more for many. It has been a long time that we have met in a physical space together. And I'm more than happy that the decision for this year's annual general meeting is being done physically. In the utilization of Jamaica Forage Club's regulations that guides the IAC, our decision to have participated in our meeting today are persons from the Ministry of Education and Youth, the University of West Indies, and the many agencies. We are very happy that the IAC and the PACs have assisted in the rolling out of these programs for the benefit of our young people. Today, we have testimonials of some of our young people sharing how they have been positively impacted. As a team, we held all planned executive meetings, as well as all general meetings with full participation of both executive members and delegates. Our committees fulfilled most of their mandates throughout the year. Let me salute all committee chairpersons for a job well done, along with the committee members. It was a deliberate move also to have participation from the regions in participating at the general meetings as we engage PAC members to conduct devotional exercise at different meetings. Our meetings with new PAC chairman was done, and we believe that more of our PACs have a better grasp of the relationship between the IAC and the PACs. The long-awaited volunteer handbook is ready, and I want to ask all volunteers to utilize the valuable information contained therein. The fit and proper volunteer declaration form has been completed by most persons. The over 80 years of representation at the board has been disturbed, as the IAC no longer sits at the board, but on committees of the board. We anticipated that it would have been resolved by now, but unfortunately it hasn't. in going forward, there must be a definitive position, as this we believe is untenable. The IAC, through your chairman, sits on the Program and Projects Committee and the Special Projects Committee of the board. In so doing, the Jamaica 4-H Clubs was able to implement InMed program at Vernon Field. We have been a strategic group to work with the Jamaica 4-H Clubs Foundation, which has enabled them in rolling out so many projects across the island. There is much more work to be done, such as the setting up of the Jamaica 4-H Clubs Museum, the GOAT Project, the Finance Project, among many others. These will require your input and support. Special thanks to the team of volunteers that I've had the privilege of leading. Your commitment and dedication was unquestionable, and we have achieved much together. A big thanks to the staff, Mr. Garfield Hewitt, Mrs. Charlene Edwards, and all the others who have made our work much easier. A very sincere and heartfelt thanks to Ms. Gibbs, who held our hands and guided us in a very timely way. She kept us informed and caused us to have the turnaround time necessary for effectiveness and high output that the organization can boast about today. We wish for her greatness and growth in her new area of focus and believe that the welfare of the staff will be properly taken care of. As we welcome back Ms. Norma Myers, we pledge our support to you at the Secretariat and trust that we can be as effective as in the past couple of years. Submitted by yours truly, Roy Wickham, Chairman of Island Advisory Council. We will now ask for the adoption of the report. If there are questions or comments, if not, we move for the adoption. Are there any questions in regards to the report? Okay, could someone move for the adoption of the report, please? Thank you very much, Mr. Rose. Moved by Mr. Rose, Krishna Rose. A seconder, please. Seconded by Ms. Dolores Henry. Thank you very much. We now take the presentation of the financial statement by our treasurer, Mr. Krishna Rose.
Good afternoon. You could turn to page 27. Okay, so today, when I arrived this morning, I was asked, how can we afford today? So you'll find out real quickly how we afford it today. In 2019, the decision was taken that we, as PACs, will look to clear the outstanding parish contributions / fees / affiliation / whatever you want to call it. And so Dr. Blake saw it fit to give every PAC an additional sum so that this can be had. So ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in many years, all PACs are up to date. IAC is able to afford their own AGM. I believe that is a good feat. And we have also started a fundraiser that have been on and off the tables. And this fundraiser will run for 2 years. The shirts, jerseys, and polos that I see so many of us, including myself, donning today. And trust me, the look is a good one. By the way, we still have some outside. So if you're so inclined, take a shirt while you go. The prices are very, very, very affordable. And the quality is excellent. So it's bargain for money, and it will be money well spent. So for the year 2021, 2022, unfortunately, it's not on the screen, but you have it in front of you. The main income was from the parish contributions and the shirt sales. And of course, you know, what would have been our main expenditure? Anybody could tell me what would be the main expenditure? Nobody? The shirts. Because LPSR weren't going to give us free, so we had to pay for it. Notwithstanding that, we were able to have a good year. Individually, the parishes also ended with a nice figure of 4.1 million, which showed that there was significant growth coming from 2.7 to 4.1. So you can give yourselves a round for that work put in. It is the hope that all the shirts will finish, and whatever the new project is, we will have your support. We thank you, and we look forward to any suggestions you might have that you think will be best for us to implement. Thank you for your time, and thank you again for your support. I must also thank not only Dr. Blake, but Miss Gibbs. Boy, I tell you, my cell phone, at times I threaten to turn off data because of Miss Gibbs and those messages that I get religiously, but it was for a worthy cause. Thank you again, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much, Mr. Rose. Are there any questions for the treasurer from the report? Okay, if there are no questions, then we will ask that someone move for the adoption of the financial report. Could someone move, please? Okay, after mentioning the name, I'm seeing Mr. Jeremy Palmer and Reverend Blake seconding. Thank you very much. All in favor? Any against? Okay, thank you. I like how we are going along. At this time, we will invite Ms. Carol McCormick, Public Relations and the Market Manager, to do recognition of volunteers. I wanted to show you while Ms. McCormick rather is coming. I wanted to also see Ms. Gibbs that we are talking about so much, and also Ms. Myers. Ms. Gibbs is on the outside, I think. Could you ask Ms. Gibbs to come inside, please? Just quickly, we show her off to the people, because she's the one who has really helped us. And Ms. Myers, who has now resumed the position, we also want you to know her, because these people work directly with us as volunteers, and it's important for you to know them. You may have to call the office also. Come up front, please, quickly. Ms. Myers, too. I know the Senton people know Miss Gibbs, at least some of them. You don't have to come all the way up here. You don't have to come all the way up here. Thanks. So we have Miss Gibbs in the white pants. All right. Put your hands together for her, please. She has done exceptionally well when she acted in the position. Exceptionally well. Thank you, Miss Gibbs. And Miss Myers is in the top white. So take off your mask, Miss Myers, they can see you. All right. So she operates out of Portland, but she's now the person, the secretariat. You need to know them because the truth is, you may have to call upon them from time to time, or you may hear them calling you. You need to know who you are talking with. Thank you very much, Ms. Gibbs. Thank you very much, Ms. Myers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. All protocol observed. A pleasant afternoon to everyone. And I'm doing my best to enjoy the cool climes of Mandeville, but at times I do feel a slight burst of heat. So it speaks to climate change, which is very real. So at this juncture of today's activities, we are going to be recognizing outstanding stalwarts. Of course, I will not be running this race alone. I'm an avid lover of track and field, and one of my favorite races to watch are the relays. And whenever I'm doing things like these, I like to do it like a relay. So my co-host in this activity, Mrs. Jacqueline Hendricks White, will be ably assisting me in this activity. But before I do, because we're here talking about recognition, I know Reverend Wickham has a lot of people to recognize. Kindly fix this mic for me. But I want to also recognize the presence of members of the Youth Advocate Council. I think we have at least two here. The chair, Mr. Khalil Brown, in his purple. And I will have words with Khalil because we both share the same alma mater, so how dare you wear purple, Khalil? And also Mr. Chadwade Anderson, members of the Youth Advocate Council. And I am going to ask them to stand, and you all recognize them, please. Because these persons, there are 13 of them, 11 of them in all, and they themselves in their own right are volunteers because they are volunteering themselves to be advocates on behalf of youth who are or who need to get involved in agriculture. And I want to use this opportunity to say to the Advisory Council representatives here, these are persons ready, willing, and able. Make use of them. Gentlemen, please, you can have your seats. So we're going to get right into it in terms of recognizing outstanding volunteers. I recognize that not all of them are here. So outside of a special request, which we have, I'm going to ask that the parish managers representing the parishes that the volunteers hail from, please come forward and accept the awards on their behalf. Now, I'm going to have to seriously lay hands on people because I see some of my presenters not here. So I am going to call on, first of all, Clover awardee, Mr. Jeremy Palmer, to please assist us, sir, in handing out some of these awards. Please make Mr. Palmer welcome. Clover awardee, former mayor of Black River, if my memory serves me correctly. All right. And I'm just advised that, sorry, those who are, we have citations, but those who are not here, we will just announce the names just to let things go a little quicker because we know people want to get back to their respective activities. Thank you very much, Mr. Palmer. Please just stay right. So when we're having our photo ops, we can get. All right. All right. So let's get right into it. So our first awardee comes from the parish of Kingston, Miss Idel Brown. Idel Brown. And as I call the names, I want to clap the people in. I want to make them come up. Because I think yes, we are going to walk to my left and come around because I think the clapping will also make them walk like a faster. All right. So, Miss Idel Brown, from a clubite at Kellett's Primary School to a council member of the Kingston 4-H Club's Parish Advisory Council, Ms. Brown, agribusiness consultant, has been serving the Jamaica 4-H clubs with dignity, reliability, sincerity, and she presently serves in the capacity as chairman. She also serves in the capacity of PRO. Over the years, she has trained clubites in agriculture, many of whom have competed in parish and national achievement expos. Ms. Brown continues to play her part in serving the Kingston 4-H clubs through her dedication. She has assisted the parish in obtaining sponsorships for events, as well as planning and organizing fundraising events. In her commitment to the 4-H clubs, she has assisted clubites in carrying out beautification activities at schools. Ms. Brown is a volunteer who can be called upon at any time to facilitate 4-H activities in the parish. The quote from Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I quote, "The reward of a thing well done is to have done it," aptly describes Ms. Brown. The Island Advisory Council, and in particular the Kingston 4-H Parish Advisory Council, salutes Ms. Idel Brown for her outstanding loyalty and dedication to the Jamaica 4-H clubs.
Good afternoon again. I see. We now move to the parish of St. Andrew. Mr. Frank Phipps. Mr. Frank Phipps has made a remarkable impact in St. Andrew 4-H clubs. Over the past 3 years, he has displayed a passion and love for the 4-H movement. He has proven to be a motivator. Mr. Phipps is an example of reliability, dependability, and commitment. He's always willing to assist where his skills are required and has always sought to empower every member he comes in contact with, whether from the Parish Advisory Council, Parish Leaders Association, and the clubites. Mr. Phipps supports all St. Andrew 4-H clubs activities. The Island Advisory Council salutes Mr. Frank Phipps for his outstanding loyalty and dedication to the Jamaica 4-H clubs through the St. Andrew 4-H clubs Parish Advisory Council.
And I should let you know that we are doing it by region. So we have actually started with the Eastern region. Our next awardee, I don't think she's here, but we will announce her name and we're going to ask the parish manager to come forward and accept. And the awardee is Mrs. Tyra Heaven from the parish of St. Catherine, and Mrs. Elaine Campbell, parish manager, will accept on her behalf.
Yes, Miss Campbell, it's your moment to shine. Sometimes absence is good, you know. Some of us get promotion that time. Good. Ladies and gentlemen, our next awardee hails from the parish of St. Mary, Mr. Errol Sinclair. Mr. Sinclair is not here, and so he's asking Miss Donna Ling to collect same. Mr. Errol Sinclair is a dynamic and sincere volunteer who demonstrates respect and appreciation for the Jamaica 4-H clubs. He carries out his voluntary service with pride. He can be described as a philanthropist, a community builder, and a visionary. Despite the fact that he owns and operates his own business, he finds the time to volunteer not just in the 4-H activity, but in the community as well. He is the co-founder of the Wogwater Valley Development Area Committee and has served as director at the Kidney Support Foundation of Jamaica. Mr. Sinclair has been a 4-H volunteer, serving as a member of the St. Mary 4-H PAC since 2012, and presently serves in the capacity as PRO. He also serves in the capacity of chairman from 2012 to 2022. Mr. Sinclair has also served the IAC as first vice chairman and elected member to the executive committee. He is an enthusiastic entrepreneur who continues to promote the 4-H Club brand through his connection with various entities. Mr. Sinclair has facilitated the many activities of the St. Mary 4-H clubs at his place of business and has also provided sponsorship for parish activities. Mr. Sinclair continues to help the parish in achieving targets by encouraging persons to get involved in 4-H. He uses every opportunity he gets to talk about the Jamaica 4-H clubs and tells almost everyone he meets about the 4-H clubs. The Island Advisory Council salutes Mr. Errol Sinclair for his outstanding loyalty and dedication to the Jamaica 4-H clubs through the St. Mary 4-H clubs PAC.
And we're going to say thank you to Mr. Palmer, sir. Thank you very much for handing out these awards. All right, so at this time, I'm going to ask another of our Clover awardees in our midst. I'm going to ask Ms. Dolores Henry to come forward and assist us with making these presentations. We're still in the East. Is Mrs. Melvin Berry here? Is she here? No, she isn't. So with that said, I'm going to ask Parish Manager, Mr. Elaine Cox, to come and accept on her behalf. So the awardee from Portland is Mrs. Melvin Berry. Clap, man, clap, 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 clap.
Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We wrap things up for the Eastern region. We move to the parish of St. Thomas. The awardee for St. Thomas, Mr. Henry Shirley, is not with us today, and so I invite the parish manager, Ms. Natalie Byfield, to collect on his behalf.
You know, I'm going to break away from standard English. I said, I love married way off, you know. Me tired for name Mrs. McCormack. My God, allow my mother to rest peacefully. All right, let me now revert to standard English. Our next awardee, and I don't think he's here, is Mr. Calvin G. Brown from St. James. And I'm going to ask Miss Keisha McNeil, Parish Manager, to accept on Mr. Brown's behalf.
So we're in the West. We now invite Mrs. Donna Tingling Stewart Lewis. Donna Tingling Lewis. All the way over there in Hanover. Donna Tingling Lewis hails from the beautiful parish of Hanover. She is a proprietor of Leisure Holiday and Tours and has been in business since 1995. She has been a member of the 4-H Club since 1974. During her years as a 4-H clubite, she participated in various competitive events where she was placed first and second. Mrs. Lewis is very passionate about volunteerism and has served as past president and treasurer for Irwin High School Parents Teachers Association. Currently, she serves as Western Region Coordinator for the Anglican Women's Auxiliary, St. James Parish Church, Secretary for the Altar Guild, St. James Parish, Vice Chairman for Anglicans Women, and she is also a member of the Portobello Citizens Committee. She has been a proud contributor and member of the Hanover 4-H Parish Advisory Council since 2012. Over the years, she served as adjudicator at the parish and national levels for competitive events such as public speaking, recitation, and the male and female ambassador. Today, Mrs. Lewis serves as the treasurer of the Hanover 4-H Parish Advisory. The Hanover 4-H Clubs recognizes the sterling contribution given by Mrs. Donna Tingling Lewis.
And still in the West, we go to Westmoreland. Is Miss Kessian Wedderburn here? And I hope I pronounced your name correctly. I did. All right. I got good marks. So our awardee, excuse me, Miss Kessian Wedderburn. Miss Wedderburn has been a member of the Westmoreland 4-H Club's PAC for over 5 years. She presently serves in the capacity of Public Relations Officer and is doing so now for a 2nd year. And she has also served in the post of Treasurer, also for 2 years in a row. She has served well even while holding a permanent job at the Community and Workers of Jamaica Cooperative Credit Union, CNWJ, White House branch. She's frequently at meetings and actively participates in discussions and decisions. Her love and dedication for the 4-H clubs arose from her love of agriculture from her early days in Cave District in the parish. Her passion and love for people, and in particular the youth, has also helped her to become more connected to the 4-H clubs and yearn to help and nurture others. The Jamaica 4-H Club salutes Miss Kessian Wedderburn for her dedication to the Westmoreland 4-H clubs.
And we hop across to Trelawney. Miss Dawn Gordon, she is not here. So our parish manager, Miss Shines, will receive. Natanish Hines will receive the award on behalf of Miss Dawn Gordon, coming out of Trelawney. And so we were going to close off West.
Never mind, Miss Hines. You're shining like a diamond. You're here? All right. All right, so we come into the central region now. Mr. Leslie Farquharson, are you here, sir? No, he isn't. Oh, Lord. Okay, ma'am, you are relieved. You see, because she's bright in her yellow, you know, I want to keep her up here. All right, so I'm now gonna call on Mr. Garfield Ewart, Director of Field Services, to come and make the next presentations. Thank you. All right, so just one. So Mr. Leslie Farquharson, he hails from the Clarendon, my apologies. So Mr. Leslie Farquharson, who is from Clarendon, and we're gonna ask the parish manager for Clarendon, oh, she's on her way up, Miss Melissa Trowers, to accept on Mr. Farquharson's behalf.
I invite to join us on the podium, Mr. Jermaine O'Neill Thompson. Jermaine Thompson is a native of the parish of Manchester, where he attained his early education at the Mandeville Primary School. At Mandeville Primary School, he sat the external exam and was awarded and placed at the Manchester High School, where he completed his secondary education. His love for agriculture led him to pursue a bachelor's degree in agriculture production and food systems management at the College of Agriculture, Science and Education. Mr. Thompson believes in service to parish and country and has been serving the Manchester 4-H clubs since 2017 as a committed member of the Parish Advisory Council. As a trained agriculturalist, he uses his expertise to assist the development of the 4-H clubs in the parish by providing training to clubites and volunteers, in addition to being an adjudicator at both the parish and national levels in the competitive events. His expertise includes, but not limited to, plant propagation, climate-smart agriculture, and bioconversion. As a committed member of the Advisory Council, Mr. Thompson is regular at meetings, and when he's unable to attend, is the first to call and express an apology and will subsequently call to be updated on decisions taken and to inquire if he was given any special assignment. A firm believer in volunteerism and agriculture, Mr. Thompson lives by the mantra, good things come to those who wait. The Manchester 4-H clubs, in conjunction with the Island Advisory Council, salutes Jermaine O'Neill Thompson for his contributed, dedicated service to the 4-H movement.
You know, I like what I just heard. If him don't come a meeting, he asks what happened at the meeting, and if him think, and I don't understand. The man is a past student of Manchester High, and I did like a dibby clap that me hear. The man is in his house, come on. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Ewart. I'm gonna call on National Leaders Association President, Mr. Anthony Kennedy, to just present the last two awards. And I'm going to ask also, is Mrs. Karen Toller-Burke with us? Oh, yes, she is. Mrs. Toller-Burke, I'm going to ask you to come forward as well, please. Mrs. Karen Toller-Burke is a vocational instructor and needlecraft specialist and was introduced to the St. Ann 4-H clubs in 2015. Her contribution to the organization not only includes being a training facilitator, but also as a member of the St. Ann Parish Advisory Council. Since then, she has been actively involved in 4-H activities. Mrs. Toller-Burke continues to contribute her time to the St. Ann 4-H clubs through her hard work and dedication, and has assisted tremendously with the preparation of clubites for parish competitions, such as making of pantry towels, making of placemats, and trash to cash. She also assisted in the creation and mounting of parish displays. She has had a wonderful working relationship with both members of staff and the JICA volunteers. Her selflessness and teamwork is one to be reckoned with. The St. Ann 4-H clubs acknowledges and salutes Mrs. Karen Toller-Burke for her outstanding contribution to the Jamaica 4-H clubs.
A true needlecraft specialist, because she kind of have me gazing at her just now as she's working, pushing needles. Yes. And so, ladies and gentlemen, we're coming to the grand finale of this year's presentation. I invite Mr. Peter Salmon. Are you in the house? Yes, he is. Mr. Peter Salmon's 4-H journey began in Hanover at the Brownsville Old Age School. For over 35 years, he served the Jamaica 4-H clubs in various capacities as lead clubite, leader, council member, project coordinator, trainer, and adjudicator at the community, parish, and national levels. His commitment to training young minds yielded successes at the parish and national levels in composting and potting of plants, rabbit care and management, cattle judging, seed identification, poultry care and management, and grafting. Mr. Salmon is committed to youth development. His resilient spirit keeps him going when the challenges arise. His humble disposition makes working with him a pleasure. He is a free-spirited person who motivates high achievements at all levels. And his skills and practice of good time management have allowed him to meet and surpass his goals. Today, we celebrate you, Mr. Peter Salmon, for your dedication and outstanding contributions to the Jamaica 4-H clubs through the St. Elizabeth 4-H clubs. I thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. And as you heard, this now brings to the end of the awards presentations. And I just want to offer my personal congratulations to all the awardees, those who are here and those who are not. Thank you very much to my co-host, Mrs. Jacqueline Hendricks White. Thank you too for being an attentive audience. And as usual, enjoy the rest of your day. I now hand over back to Mr. Chair, Reverend Roy Wickham. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. McCormack and Mrs. White. And you know what I'm happy for? If you're all observing, you'll see the age range of the recipients. And I'm very happy for that. And I want to encourage us to continue to do the work we do, as we were challenged this morning to be selfless as we are volunteers. Patriotism is important. And as we receive the awards, again, I remind us all that there are shirts on the outside for sale. Do not leave here today without purchasing at least one. You can remember it's a fundraising event. The price, you may say, well, it's a bit high, but the truth is a fundraiser. So you're contributing to yourselves. All right, try remember that. And the price is attractive. All right, it is attractive in this day and age. All right, so please do not leave here without you get your shirts. Bring one for your spouse at home. Bring one for your friend in the community. In fact, this morning when I came here, I met a gentleman and I thought he was one of our participants. But he said to me, no, he owns a truck outside and it's broken down. And he said to me, you know, when I was in school, I used to be a 4-H'er. And as you go around and talk with people, you hear the same kind of sentiments being expressed, the many people who were exposed to 4-H in Jamaica. Thank you again, Ms. McCormack and Mrs. White. We come to any other business. Is there any other business? I see a hand at the back. Mr. McNamee. Good afternoon. Okay, thank you for the question. Just want to, it's in my report. And the truth is that when Minister Shaw came to office as Agriculture and Fisheries Minister, we did write to him, having written to the then Minister Green and expressed our concerns. Minister Shaw's response then was that his reading of a document did not prevent us from sitting on the board. And he so in communication with us, asked us to name the representative. And we did that. Unfortunately, just while we were doing that, there was a cabinet reshuffle and a new minister was appointed, Minister Perdell Charles Jr. Since we had gotten that information from Minister Shaw, we thought it prudent to not only express congratulations to the new minister, but we also expressed to him the concern and also shared with him in our communication with him that Minister Shaw had indicated to us what his reading of the document was and that we were to name the person. And that we did. Unfortunately, I'll have to report, this is a place where you make decisions. Minister Charles has not acknowledged the letter, neither responded to the request, and as such, we are still left in limbo. Mr. Carr. Have we done any follow-up with? Yes, we have. In fact, I've seen him on 2 occasions and introduced myself. In fact, he and I ought to know each other for some time. I'll tell you that. So I reintroduced myself to him on 2 occasions and reminded him about the letter that we sent. And he said I was to speak to his personal assistant, who gave me her contact details, and I should call her. And I did that, several calls, until the last time we saw each other was in August at Denby. And I reminded her that we did not hear from them. She promised me then that she would make it a duty to get in touch. We have not heard since. You have what? Yes. Well, I hear it. A resolution can be moved. A motion for a resolution can be tabled here. It's quite in order. It's your meeting. It's the AGM. Okay. Just a minute, Chairman, bro. Just a minute. Okay, well, just before he speaks, there's a question, so perhaps in 2 questions, and then we ask him to address. Okay, thanks. Mr. Cornwall.
I know previously on the board, you had a representative of the Staff Association and the Nala. Is it that we are not on the board, but those other two are? That's my question.
Okay, thanks. Your hand is up again. It's still different today. I would want the question to be asked before he responds, because he may need to respond to the. Right. Yes. Yes. Is that in relation to the, all right, so rest it first, please. Mr. Virgo, would you respond? You normally speak loudly, so. Yeah.
That is true. All right. Go on, it's up. Okay, good. All right, so I'll go around that. Okay, I'll talk to you. A little bit after I was in the chairman of the board, I was called to the executive commission one day. When I went there, they were after the school, they were fairly slow. But I think for a 6 foot, I suffice it to say that there were about 9 issues over here that they were very they of which was happening to our not their own. That's somebody else was here. I'm only one of which running in the one of all the integrity commission was their investigation. I want to say that the integrity commission is an amalgamation of 3 entities. The auditor general, the contractor general, and more. All they do is their investigation. Basically, they investigate every thing. Because in those conversations, they were being able to tell me that a previous director is the godfather of the China. They were able to tell me with a family over that would become they was rather so in doing your investigation, it could be serious matter that you want to know. one of the questions that they asked me, they looked at it, one of the things that they do, they go before and committee.
Sure.
And when they went through those things, one of the questions they asked me was, who are the people? And why are they in the meeting? So I explained to them that one of those persons would have been the chair or one of the president, and the other one is the staff. And I explained to them that, so they said, and I made it up, they said, well, why are you in the meeting? But they are not going to vote. And I said to them that the inner half that I want to serve, I go before why they all they said, well, you are acting ultra virus. They are not members of the board, so they are not for me to work. This is having treatment and warning and that guidance. As they reminded me that I am the chief government officer of the organization, I was obligated to regularize. I could not continue to maintain those 3 office holders as members of the board, as I was spoken that they were. Granted, this online work.
Yes, and Clover TV.
This was something I did from my first time on the board. That first board that I was